Hello, awesome people who, for reasons most strange and many, are watching this. Sorry again, done a bunch of stuff and didn't video it, and it's been a while, so I'm going to try and run around and point out a few things and probably forget as many things. Good Lord. So we've got a radiator in, we've got an electric fan, works on my cool little switch, got a fan belt, it's still too long. I'd like it slightly shorter to close this gap and increase this gap. We've had the alternator tested, cost me $50, but the nice guys at Doigs and Rangiora said yep, works fine, and had to fiddle with how it was mounted to straighten this out and da 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 da. We've disconnected the factory fuel filter because it was leaking and just plugged the fuel line straight into this wee filter and up into here. But we've got fuel issues. Haven't sorted float levels on Holly 390 carb, and it was piddling fuel out still. But turns out that one fuel pump, other fuel pump, wasn't sure that this one was even working correctly. So this is the front tank. It didn't seem to work very well. I had a theory that it wasn't going very well on 12 volts, and as soon as the battery started to lose some charge, it went even worse. And I didn't think this one worked at all, because I banged it across the terminals of the battery and it didn't do a thing. But wonderful neighbour out the back, as opposed to neighbour across the side and neighbour out the front, of all helping. He said, well, we need to hook 24 volts up to these. And they're both roaring away. What's more, the fuel gauge worked for the rear tank, this pump, but it doesn't seem to want to work for the front tank. So remember, we've got our wee switch up here, front and rear. Anyhow, speaking of front tank, so this is the fuel level sender, but the gauge definitely showed some life when I flicked it to the rear tank. What else? So the other big news is that we set 24 volts in here. Yes, just trying to, I gotta keep things simple. I'm a visual person. We need 24 volts. Now I've learnt, you probably know it, but I didn't. You can actually run a dual 24 volt, 12 volt system. And that's where this little bugger comes in. These are about bloody $350 on the internet. A red arc charge equalizer. And I'm slowly working it out, and according to the little diagram. So basically, as you know, Tommy was all 24 volts, but I found a 12 volt coil fitted, and we've subsequently changed to the red motor, I'm calling it. Neighbour calls it the race motor, and it has a 12 volt distributor. So basically what the charge equalizer does is means that your entire vehicle is 24 volts except for coil and distributor. You can run a lead to put these two on 12 volts. We know obviously that's a 24 volt alternator, we know it's a 24 volt starter, we know that we've got 24 volt fuel pumps. One of the bulbs that I pulled out was 24 volts, so we think all of that's 24 volts. Oh, and the other exciting news this morning, when we plugged 24 volts in here, this little guy started having a wee very excited moment, was flashing away, and 3 out of 4 of my indicators work. So OMG. And what I was working towards was having Tommy running and then testing the clutch, engaging a gear, and I wanted to see all 4 wheels turning. And of course I wanted to video it so that you guys could share in my joy, but it didn't. But it did work. I was obviously in the driver's area, and I pushed the clutch in and engaged first gear and let the clutch out. I could only see the rear wheel on the driver's side and it was turning, couldn't see the front ones, but neighbour was standing over here and he said these 2 guys were turning, and then of course motor stalled and she wouldn't start again because we were back to running it off 12 volts just to get it to start, which it has been doing, obviously not very well. So yeah. Good Lord, spending a lot of time under here. I've had all the drums off again and cleaned up inside the drums and backed the adjusters right off, so everything does turn. We're pretty sure all the major geary bits, drivey bits are working. Yes, I was about to attempt to pump a bit of fresh brake fluid through everything to see if the brakes actually started to work, but then of course that would mean that the linings were pushing against the drums, and if I managed to get Tommy started again in an engaged gear, it should be a little bit harder to Yes. Yes. I think I've covered everything. We're a bit budgetary restrained at the moment. Any sponsors want to come on board, that'd be great. I need to buy 2 batteries. I need to buy some new fuses. Oh yes, so this was in here when we bought Tommy, and so there's meant to be 15 amp fuses in here, and he obviously connects to, this is I believe where the power goes off to my ignition system. I need to have a fuse. I need new, I'm going to get new inline fuses, connect this in, hopefully mount it where it was, which is there, but that leaves very little room for a battery, full-size battery, to fit across here. I don't know how they did it. Maybe they had it sitting up on top of this rail here, so the battery was hard over. She's a bit tight, but that's the best place for it. Yes, we did check. That's what something else I did. Obviously knew there was oil in the engine. Checked oil and gearbox, which seems to be okay. Oil and transfer case is milky and crap, but there was oil in there, and I topped up both the diffs before I started rotating things. All of that will need to be changed, but I just wanted to see if she worked. Yes, so much for a short video, but I think that's pretty much everything that I needed to mention. Yes, there's coolant in there. It works. I still have disconnected heater pipes and haven't reconnected heater pipes. Bought some new hose to go on there. yet to do. Oh, had a bit of fun yesterday because Land Rover in their wisdom of course have a screw that goes through this hole attached to a nut on the other side holding on the rear view mirror, but that nut was just happily spinning around at the back, so I had to take the door off to get that nut off, to get this off, because it was well broken anyway. So I'm looking at getting a new one of those. Actually took the mirror that was in the box of parts that we got and attached it to that guy over there, so we've actually got a mirror. Yep. Alright. Gotta go. Far too talkies. See you.